Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're diving deep into something I'm pretty sure we've all got some experience with, love. But
Yeah.
we're going to go a little deeper than, your usual rom-com stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Like the whole love conquers all thing, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to be checking out some really interesting ideas based on the teachings of Premanand Maharaj. He's a spiritual teacher from Vrindavan.
That's right.
And our source material is exploring this thought that even when a relationship looks absolutely perfect on the outside, completely selfless love, that might be more like a dream than actual reality.
Exactly. More
Yeah.
like something we aim for rather than something we actually achieve.
Right. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? The source material actually talks about this guy who couldn't honestly say he loved his wife selflessly, even though they had a happy marriage.
Right.
It really got me thinking about, my own ideas about what selfless love actually is.
It's a powerful story because it forces us to look a little deeper. Premanand Maharaj actually said, and I quote, "We do not love others in this world. Our love is selfish and not selfless." Now, before you jump to conclusions and call him a cynic, let's think about this in the context of non-dual awareness.
Okay.
This is like a core idea in a bunch of Eastern philosophies,
Okay.
and it might help explain why even the happiest kind of love has a little bit of ego mixed in there.
Okay, gotta be honest, non-dual awareness sounds kind of intimidating.
Right.
Is that like some mystical thing you have to achieve?
Not really. It's more about like shifting how you see things.
Okay.
Like imagine you got two waves in the ocean, they look separate, right?
Right?
But they're both part of the same water underneath.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the self and the other person in non-dual awareness.
Oh.
We're all connected, like we're part of this bigger reality.
So how does that work with love?
Yeah.
Are you saying like there's no real separation between the person who's loving and the person they love?
Yeah, in a way, yes. When we love someone, even if we're trying super hard to be selfless, there's still this part of us, the ego, that wants something back.
Okay.
It could be validation, connection, a sense of belonging. Even when you're doing something super loving for someone, there's this tiny bit of self-gratification in there, like you're fulfilling your own needs a little.
That's kind of a bummer, isn't it? Like it makes love seem less pure somehow.
It might seem like that at first.
Yeah.
But think of it as us being really honest with ourselves.
Okay.
If we can see this inherent selfishness without judging it, then we can actually experience love in a more real way.
Okay, I'm trying to get my head around this. So
Yeah.
if we're all connected, how's that supposed to change how we think about love?
It kind of pushes us to get past that whole give and take idea of love,
Okay.
where you expect something back all the time.
Right.
Instead, we start seeing love as, like an expression of us being connected, like we're recognizing that we're all human. It's not so much about what you get out of it, but what you're putting into this shared experience.
So instead of trying to reach this impossible, perfect, selfless love, we should try to understand and accept that our ego is always going to be a part of everything we experience, even love.
Exactly. That acceptance, without beating yourself up about it, can actually be really freeing.
Yeah.
It lets you appreciate how beautiful and deep love is without getting caught up in this idea of being perfectly selfless.
Yeah.
It also fits really well with this idea of Bhakti Marg, which the source material mentions.
You mentioned Bhakti Marg.
Yeah.
Just for those listening who might not know, can you give us a quick rundown of what that path is all about?
Sure. So Bhakti Marg is a path to enlightenment through love and devotion.
Okay.
It's about developing this deep, heartfelt connection with the divine, often through things like chanting, singing, and selfless service.
So how does this relate back to the idea that even in the happiest love, there's still a little bit of ego? Are you saying that even when you're on a spiritual path, you can never really be completely selfless?
It's not so much about it being impossible. It's more about seeing how the ego affects our experiences,
Cool.
even the spiritual ones.
Right.
Premanand Maharaj, through his teachings, he's a great example of Bhakti Marg.
Right.
But he also recognizes how complex human love is.
So it's more about being aware of it rather than judging it.
Exactly.
We see the ego's there, but we're not going to condemn it.
Right.
It's just part of what it means to be human.
Yeah. And when you have that awareness, that acceptance, you start to understand yourself and the nature of love in a much deeper, more compassionate way.
This is really making me rethink everything I thought I knew about love.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what does the source material say about how understanding this acceptance of the ego's role can actually help us become more enlightened?
Well, that brings us to another really important point. Love is always changing. The source material actually says something pretty bold. We do not feel the same love twice.
Wow.
Might sound kind of strange at first,
Yeah.
but think about it. The love you felt for, say, your pet when you were a kid,
Right.
that's different from how you love your partner.
That's true. It's like completely different kinds of love.
Exactly. And it gets even deeper than that, even in the same relationship. Love's always changing.
Yeah.
The love you feel for your partner today is probably different from how you felt 5 years ago.
You know, that makes total sense. Like when you're young, love can be so intense.
Right.
Like all you think about.
Yeah.
But as you get older, it turns into something else.
Yeah.
Like it's more peaceful and understanding.
You've hit on a key point there. Love actually changes as we change.
Right.
When we're young, love is all about discovering new things, passion,
Right.
maybe even being a little naive.
Yeah.
As we mature and grow, our capacity for love grows too.
Okay.
It becomes more grounded, more compassionate, more accepting of flaws,
Yeah.
both in ourselves and others.
This is so fascinating. So it's not just our feelings that change, but love itself is fluid.
Exactly. And this is where the connection to enlightenment gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The ego, you see, needs to control things and have a fixed identity.
Okay.
And it really hates change.
So if the ego wants things to stay the same, but love is always changing, doesn't that create a conflict?
Exactly. That's where relationships can get complicated.
Okay.
We hold on to how love used to be instead of going with the flow of how the relationship is changing naturally.
I'm starting to see how this goes back to that story about the guy who couldn't love his wife selflessly.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't just about his ego wanting something back. Maybe it was also about his ego resisting the natural changes in any long-term relationship.
That's a great observation. And the source material actually suggests that this resistance, this clinging to a fixed idea of love, leads to conflict and restlessness.
Right?
We fight against how love naturally wants to flow instead of just going with it.
Okay, so we need to be flexible and let love change and evolve.
Right.
But how do we actually do that, especially when part of us is holding on so tight?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Source material says that by seeing these glimpses of pure consciousness that love offers, we can start to let go a little and embrace how fluid love really is.
Glimpses of pure consciousness. Now that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's about those moments when you connect with someone so deeply that the boundaries between you and them seem to disappear.
Okay.
You feel this oneness,
Yeah.
pure bliss
Right.
that goes beyond the ego and the physical world.
Okay.
It's like seeing a little bit of something much bigger than us.
Okay, I think I felt that before, but I never thought of it as pure consciousness.
Right.
I just figured it was like, good chemistry or something.
Yeah, that's how the ego tries to understand these experiences.
Right.
He uses familiar concepts to fit them into his limited way of thinking.
Okay.
But what if these moments are showing us something deeper? Something beyond what the ego can grasp?
Whoa. That's kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So you're saying those times when you connect so intensely, those flashes of bliss, are they like little windows into a different way of experiencing reality?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source material suggests that every love, every connection gives us a unique glimpse, a different taste of this pure consciousness.
That's actually really beautiful. It makes every love, every connection precious and valuable.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't last forever.
Exactly. And it ties back to the idea that we don't feel the same love twice. Each love, each relationship gives us a unique chance to experience these glimpses of pure consciousness,
Okay.
to broaden our understanding of what love can be.
This reminds me of something in the source material. It's about this friend who didn't like the idea of getting over someone. He said it was all about the ego.
Right?
He said we should get on with realizing that love in its pure form is eternal.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
Yeah.
It shows how holding on to past, loves even the pain of heartbreak,
Yeah.
stops us from fully experiencing new ones.
Right.
It's like we're stuck in the ego story of loss and separation, instead of seeing the potential for transformation in each new connection.
So even heartbreak can show us pure consciousness.
In a way, yes.
Hmm.
Because even when we lose someone, we're recognizing how deep that connection was.
Right.
It reminds us of how much we can love and how beauty can still exist even when things don't last.
This is giving me a lot to think about, but I'm still not sure how we actually do this. How do we cultivate this awareness of pure consciousness in our relationships?
Yeah.
How do we move past the ego's limitations and experience love in this more expansive way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it leads us to the last piece of the puzzle that the source material talks about. Transforming Love for Enlightenment.
Okay, yeah, Transforming Love for Enlightenment
Yeah.
feels like we're about to go full-on deep dive here.
It's a really profound idea,
Yeah,
but it follows on perfectly from what we've been talking about.
Right.
And remember how the source material kept saying love's always changing?
right.
Well, it says that being cool with that change, letting love transform, is the key to, like, dissolving the ego and getting closer to enlightenment.
So instead of getting stuck on how things used to be, we should see how love changes as something good, like a sign we're growing.
Exactly. Think of it this way. The ego wants to label everything, put it all in neat little boxes.
Right.
But love, like real pure love, you can't define it.
Yeah.
It just keeps growing, going past any boundaries.
So by holding on to this fixed idea of what love is, we're actually stopping ourselves from experiencing all it can be.
Exactly. Every time we let love change, take on a new form.
Right.
We're loosening the ego's grip and becoming more open to a wider way of being.
Okay.
And in that openness, in that surrender to how love flows, we move closer to the boundless nature of pure consciousness.
Okay, I'm starting to get the connection, but it still feels a little abstract. How do we actually put this into practice? What does it look like to transform love for enlightenment in our daily lives?
It all starts with being aware.
Okay.
Noticing those times when our ego tries to take control in our relationships.
Okay.
Maybe it's fighting change, holding on to resentment, or trying to force our expectations on the other person.
So it's about seeing those ego patterns and consciously choosing to let go.
Exactly. It's like a practice.
Yeah.
You know, a constant process of seeing where the ego is limited and choosing to align yourself with the expansive nature of love instead.
Okay.
The more you practice, the more you can access those glimpses of pure consciousness.
Right.
Not just in romantic relationships, but in all your interactions.
So it's not just about romantic love, it's about cultivating that awareness and openness in all our connections.
Absolutely. Think about when you really connect with a friend, someone in your family, even a stranger.
Yeah.
Those times when you feel truly seen and understood,
Yeah.
where you feel this shared humanity that goes beyond any superficial differences.
Those are powerful moments, like you see a glimpse of something much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. Those are the glimpses of pure consciousness that the source material keeps talking about.
Right.
And the more we cultivate that awareness, that openness, that willingness to just be present with another person without judgment or expectation, the more we'll experience those moments in our lives.
It's like we're retraining our brains to experience love in a whole new way.
Yeah.
Less about what the ego wants and more about connection, acceptance, and that sense of shared humanity you mentioned.
That's a great way to put it. And the best part is this transformation doesn't just benefit us personally.
Right.
When we embody this bigger way of loving, we send out that energy.
Right.
And it helps create a collective shift in consciousness.
So it's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
The more people embrace this way of being, the more we shift how everyone experiences love.
Yeah.
Toward greater awareness and compassion and connection.
Exactly. And in the end, that's what enlightenment's all about.
Right.
It's not just about personal freedom, but about helping everyone wake up.
Wow, this whole conversation has been a real eye-opener.
Yeah.
It's like we've got this new way of seeing love.
Right.
One that shows how powerful it is, not just in our own lives, but in the whole world.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up. If every love offers a glimpse of pure consciousness, how can you approach your relationships in a way that brings you more awareness and bliss? Think about that question. Pay attention to how you experience love and see where this journey of understanding takes you.
This has been an incredible deep dive, and I want to thank everyone for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you leave feeling inspired and ready to experience love in all its transformative glory. Until next time, happy diving.